the statement that I've directed you to give.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of this August House, I wish to sincerely thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members of this esteemed House, for the opportunity to address the House on matters relating to the Ministry of Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Program. Notably, Honorable Speaker, this marks my maiden appearance before the House to respond to the questions raised by the honorable members. May I now respond to question number 2 of 2026, raised by the honorable member for Wajir West. On 1, the current status of drought in Turkana, in Marsabit, in Mandera, Wajir, in Garissa, in Isiolo, and Samburu, including the number of households affected. Number 2, the measures taken to provide relief food and cash transfer and other funds allocated and dispersed for this purpose. Number 3, the mechanisms in place to ensure transparency and accountability in relief distribution. Number 4, whether the government intends to declare the drought a national disaster and the intervention plan to follow such declarations. And finally, number 5, the long-term measures put in place by the ministry to address the recurrent drought and build resilience in arid and semi-arid areas. Honorable Speaker, as outlined in the Executive Order number 1 of 2025, my ministry is mandated to coordinate disaster preparedness, response, and recovery efforts during crises such as floods, drought, fires, disease outbreaks, pandemics, as well as other national emergencies and geological disasters to provide food and aid and other essential supplies to affected populations, among others. Honorable Speaker, the ministry is committed to ensure coordinated, timely, accountable, and humane response to disasters. This is in line with Article 43 of the Constitution, which guarantees every person the right to be free from hunger and to have adequate food for acceptable quality, accessible and adequate housing, and clean and safe water in adequate quantities. Honorable Speaker, Kenya is a climate vulnerable country that experiences drought, floods, landslide, and other climate-induced shocks, which have become more frequent, intense, and complex with far-reaching implications for food security, livelihood, public health, and national cohesion. Historically, government responses to disaster were largely reactive, fragmented, and event-driven. However, successive national emergencies, most notably the 1997-1998 El Nino national emergency, El Nino, France, followed shortly thereafter by 1998 terrorist bombing of the United States Embassy in Nairobi, laid bare the institutional and coordination gaps in national disaster management. Mr. Speaker, this event underscored the need for a central, permanent, and authoritative coordinating entity that manage disasters holistically, from preparedness through response to recovery and resilience. Honorable Speaker, it is against this backdrop that the State Department for Special Program was established within the Office of the President, initially as the National Emergency Coordination Mechanism. Over time, State Department for Special Program has evolved in both scope and responsibility, reflecting the changing nature of disasters in Kenya. Today, it is domiciled in the Ministry of Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Program. It serves as the nerve center of government's disaster and humanitarian response architecture. Mr. Speaker, sir, the State Department for Special Program does not operate in isolation. Rather, it provides strategic coordination, policy leadership, and the operation oversight, working closely with the National Drought Management Authority, ministries, departments, and agencies, county government, humanitarian and development partners, as well as community-level disaster management structures. These evolution reflect a deliberate shift from ad hoc emergency relief to institutionalized disaster risk management. Mr. Speaker, sir, to answer the first question, that the status of the drought in Turkana, in Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Isiolo, Samburu, including the number of households affected. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have visited all these counties in the effort to manage the disaster which this country is facing. Kenya is experiencing worsening drought condition, driven by persistent hot and dry weather and compounded by below average rainfall across consecutive seasons. As a result, about 3.3 million people in ASAL counties are food insecure and in urgent need of food assistance. In addition, the drought has also affected 9 other non-ASAL counties, which include Nakuru, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kiambu, Machakos, Siaya, Homa Bay, Kirinyaga, Murang'a, and Migori. According to the analysis from Kenya Drought Early Warning System, Mandera, Wajir, Kware, and Kilifi counties are in the alarm phase. Garissa, Tana River, Isiolo, Marsabit, Kajiado, Kitui, Ramu, Samburu, Taita Taveta, Tharaka Nithi, Turkana, and Baringo counties are in the alert phase. Embu, Narok, Laikipia, and West Pokot counties are in pre-alert phase. Nyeri, Makueni, and Meru counties remain in the normal phase, though Meru is showing early warning signs. Honorable Speaker, for the record, I have in recent past visited most of these counties: Turkana, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Isiolo, Samburu, Taita Taveta, Tana River, Kajiado, and several other counties, Mr. Speaker. Question number 2. The measures taken to provide relief food and cash transfers and the funds allocated and dispersed for this purpose. Honorable members, the government of Kenya has deployed a robust multi-sectoral emergency response to address the effect of drought. The National Treasury has so far allocated Kenya shilling 9 billion for drought interventions. Out of this amount, Kenya shilling 8.5 billion for emergency food assistance, while 500 million Kenya shilling for livestock feed to protect the pastoral livelihood. Honorable Speaker, on Monday, I was in Turkana County, where I signed a check amounting to 215 million towards this intervention as far as cash transfer is concerned. And I'm sure the members of Turkana, from Turkana County, and some of them I can see are here, they witnessed this function. Mr. Speaker, the relief food has been distributed to all affected counties based on the need identified following a comprehensive food and nutritional assessment conducted by the National Drought Management Authority and partners. To implement this, the National Drought Management Authority is implementing a cash transfer program in the said counties as follows. In Mandera, amount dispersed 179.3 million Kenya shilling to 22,000 households. In Wajir, 103.5 million Kenya shilling to 19,000 households. In Turkana, 215 million Kenya shilling to 39,000 households. In Marsabit, 110 million Kenya shilling to 20,000 households. In Garissa, 49 million Kenya shilling to 9,000 households. In Isiolo, 36.6 million Kenya shilling to 7,000 households. In Samburu, 44 million Kenya shilling to 8,000 households. In Tana River, 40 million Kenya shilling to 7,000 households. A total of about 778 million Kenya shilling to a total of 131,000 households. Honorable Speaker, to bread the approach recognizes that humanitarian response must protect life today while preserving livelihood for tomorrow. Question number 3. The mechanisms in place to ensure transparency and accountability in relief distribution. Honorable Speaker, my ministry recognizes the importance of public trust as we endeavor to provide assistance to vulnerable population. Accordingly, we have institutionalized strong transparency and accountability measures, which include 1, ensuring county steering groups and relief distribution committees are fully operational. I gazetted the county steering committee on a gazette dated 23rd January of the year 2025. Number 2, promoting active involvement of members of parliament, county government, as well as county assemblies and local leadership. Mr. Speaker, all the counties I've visited, I've ensured the members of this House are involved in my visit so that we can democratize these interventions as much as possible. Number 3, continuous monitoring and evaluation and field verification by the ministry. Number 4, mandatory returns and distribution report from the counties and sub-counties to the ministry. And finally, Mr. Speaker, as I've said, democratization of the interventions through involvement of the members of parliament, officials from the county assembly, as well as grassroots leadership. These measures ensure that relief assistance is traceable, auditable, and equitable. I have personally taken time to be involved in the relief distribution in most of sub-counties. Question number 4, whether the government intends to declare the drought a national disaster and the interventions plan to follow such declarations. Honorable Speaker, the declaration of a drought as a national disaster is governed by the National Disaster Risk Management Policy of 2017, which establishes objective criteria to guide such decisions. The declaration would be necessary only if the drought overwhelms the existing national response capacity, thus prompting the President to seek regional and international assistance to support the country in response and recovery. While the current drought is serious, it has not yet overwhelmed the existing structures, the existing national structures to warrant the President or to warrant the Cabinet Secretary responsible for special programs to advise the President to declare it as the national disaster. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, government maintains heightened vigilance, and once threshold is met, the necessary declarations and escalation of response will be undertaken without delay. Question number 5, the long-term measures put in place by the ministry to address recurrent drought and build resilience in arid and semi-arid areas. Honourable members, the emergency relief alone cannot break the cycle of drought vulnerability. Accordingly, the government is investing in structural and long-term solutions, including 1, maintaining drought risk management and climate adaptation into national and county development frameworks, investing in water infrastructure, including dams, ponds, and boreholes. At the moment, Mr. Speaker, the NDMA and the National Youth Service have been instructed by the government to start desilting of most of the water ponds in counties which are affected by drought. Strengthening early warning systems and community preparedness, as well as integrating social protection programs to cushion the vulnerable household during shocks, as I mentioned on the issues to do with cash transfer. Mr. Speaker, as earlier stated, the State Department, in collaboration with the National Drought Management Authority, has continued to implement cash transfer program aimed at cushioning poor and vulnerable households. Most recently, an amount of Kenya shilling 778,536,900 shilling was dispersed to 133,101 households registered under the Hunger Safety Net program. The above measures, among others, will facilitate gradual shift from relief dependency to resilience building and self-reliance. Mr. Speaker, it's also worth noting that the government is in the process of setting up the National Infrastructure Fund, which this House, I'm sure it is discussing or it is undergoing through the process of registration, so that the National Infrastructure Fund can help the nation in building resilience projects such as dams and irrigation schemes. Honorable Speaker, the ministry is facing challenges. Allow me to briefly highlight some of the challenges my ministry faces in fulfilling its mandate. These challenges include: one, inadequate technical staffing in the ministry, particularly in the State Department for Special Programs. Number two, delay in enactment of disaster risk management bill, which is a critical legal clarity and coordination of disaster in the country. In this regard, I beseech this honorable House to consider fast-tracking the passage of the bill to address some of these challenges. Inadequate funding of the relief programs, resilience and recovery interventions, and inadequate infrastructure and office accommodation, particularly in the State Departments for Special Program. Addressing these challenges, Mr. Speaker, will require strong cooperation between the executive and the Parliament. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, in conclusion, the government remains unwavering in its commitment to protect lives, livelihood, national economic stability, and my ministry will continue to spearhead a coordinated, accountable, and forward-looking disaster management system, responsive to today's emergencies and prepared for tomorrow's risk. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, honorable members, for your continued support. I look forward to a fruitful engagement. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to mention that my ministry, through the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development, National Youth Service is facing serious budgetary cuts. We requested 23 billion Kenya shilling, Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of doubling the intake from 20,000 to 40,000 youth to be trained in paramilitary training, national vocation, as well as national service. This will not be possible if this House will allocate 10 billion Kenya shilling to the National Youth Service. Mr. Speaker, sir, Huduma Kenya Secretariat, we have 59 Huduma centers in the Republic of Kenya, and we have more than 300 sub-counties in Kenya. We have 290 constituencies in Kenya. Therefore, many constituencies don't have Huduma centers. We have Huduma centers which have been built, but they are not operationalized. We requested a sum of 1.5 billion Kenya shilling to ensure that we get more Huduma centers across the country. More than 300. Speaker, sir, Huduma Kenya Secretariat, we have 59 Huduma centers in the Republic of Kenya, and we have more than 300 sub-counties in Kenya. We have 290 constituencies in Kenya. Therefore, many constituencies don't have Huduma centers. We have Huduma centers which have been built, but they are not operationalized. We requested a sum of 1.5 billion Kenya shilling to ensure that we get more Huduma centers across the country. But, Mr. Speaker, the allocation is not forthcoming. I beseech this House to allocate more money to National Youth Service for the purposes of doubling the intake so that we can be able to get most of our young people in our villages to go for training in National Youth Service, as well as we can be able to ensure we have Huduma services closer to the Kenyan population across the constituency in the Republic of Kenya. And finally, sir, the ministry is also facing challenges in terms of unifying all the government services. Public service transformation, which requires additional funding to ensure we are capable as public servants to serve very agile population, which the mean age is 22 years. These are young people who requires government services at their comfort. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. God bless you. God bless Kenya. And may God bless the President of the Republic of Kenya. Thank you.
Now you take your seat. We'll take supplementary questions, starting with the questioner, Farah. We'll take those who want to ask. You record, then you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All of them.
I have 3 follow-up questions. First, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the CS and his peers for doing a wonderful job during this time, despite having challenges in terms of budget. Mr. Speaker, my question is, the Waziri talked about feeds, animal feeds. The animal feeds that he talked about has not yet been supplied in the various counties as per today. My question now is, how many tons of feeds were allocated in each and every county, or specifically each constituency, or even the beneficiaries of that feed, animal feeds? And what was the budget? Number 2, Mr. Speaker, the Waziri talked about saying that the drought cannot be declared emergency at the moment because it has not overwhelmed the government.